Our book club book, Night, by Elie Weisel, is a memoir of Elieser's childhood as he lived through the Holocaust.
The story starts off with Eliezer and his family living in their hometown of SCHS. One of Eliezer's teachers, Mosh the Beetle, gets deported. Then a few months later, he returns with the tale of Nazis taking people from his train into the woods and killing them.
Soon after the news of the killings arose, the Jews were forced into the ghettos. It was spring 1944. Eliezer and his family lived in the impoverished conditions of the ghettos with hundreds of other Jews.
Soon after being put into the ghettos, they were forced into cattle cars and taken to Birkenau. There, Eliezer and his father were separated from his sister and mother. He never got to see them again. At the camp, they undergo an evaluation. They both pass, so they are brought to the prisoner barracks. As soon as they walk to the barracks, they see a group of Nazis throwing babies from the cattle cars into the fire.
The prisoners were then stripped, shaved, and cleaned. Then they were marched to the main camp, Auschwitz. There they were kept for their slave labor.
Along with the harsh conditions each person undergoes, they were forced to watch punishments, including hangings of fellow inmates.
Because of the harsh conditions, people's morals began to change. Eliezer found himself losing his humanity and his faith, both in God and the people around him.
While Eliezer is recovering from foot surgery, the Russians start to advance on the camp to liberate it. The prisoners were forced to go on a death march to Gallowitz concentration camp 50 miles away. Many people died from extreme weather and exhaustion.
Once at Gallowitz, the prisoners were herded in cattle cars again. In the cars, only 12 out of the 100 that started there survived the journey to Buchenwald.
Eliezer and his father survived the journey by supporting each other mentally and physically. However, in Buchenwald, Eliezer's father dies of dysentery and physical abuse. Eliezer survives at the camp until April 11, 1945, the day that the American Army liberates the camp.
Overall, this is a fairly straightforward book. Let's be honest, the events of the Holocaust aren't really subjects up for debate or deeper interpretation.
However, the author, who is the main character and the focal point of the book, wrote the book in a way that is not only touching because of the personal details and the extreme trauma he included, but also in words that could convey underlying concepts.
In the beginning of the book, when Eliezer and his father are on the train to the first concentration camp, a woman accompanied by her 10-year-old son becomes hysteric and repeats the same scream over and over again throughout the 2-day trip. Look at the fire, look at the flames, flames everywhere. Once again, the young men bound her and gagged her. When they actually struck her, people shouted their approval. Weisel 26.
And over again, when there was really none, could be interpreted as their entering of hell. In a way, she could have been foreshadowing to all on the train that they were entering the flames of hell on earth.
This kind of writing can also be found on the last page of the novel after the liberation of the concentration camps. One day when I was able to get up, I decided to look at myself in the mirror on the opposite wall. I had not seen myself since the ghetto. From the depths of the mirror, a corpse was contemplating me. The look in his eyes as he gazed at me never left me. Weisel 115.
Throughout his journey, Eliezer talks about how the concentration camps were killing him on the inside and merely failing to kill his body that piloted him around. When he looked at himself in the mirror, he confirmed this to himself, because what was on the other side of the mirror was a dying soul and a body that he didn't even recognize. He was transformed by an evil force.
Looking at the book as a whole, it is not even really a book. It is a vital story to society. Eliezer Weisel told his life of entrapment not for people to feel sorry for him or some weird sort of fame, but to spread the word, for people to be able to remember the horror.
But why would people even want to remember such a horror? Well, it's because history tends to repeat itself. If this story dies, so does the disgust and hatred for it. So the possibility of something like this happening again will increase. Life stories like these are hard to imagine and hard to read, but they contain lessons that you can't find anywhere.